Hey everybody, it's Lou Rosenfeld, and welcome to the Rosenfeld Review. It is June 11th, 2015, a spring day here in Brooklyn and in Boston, where we have Steve Krug. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Lou.
And a special guest who will interject momentarily. But before we get to Steve and our special guest, Steve, I don't think I need to introduce you. I sure as hell hope not at this point.
We don't really have time to introduce me.
No, it's going to take 10 or 12 minutes.
Wasn't what I meant, but yes.
Well, all right. But to get you queued up, I've known you for, 15 years now. And we've done so much work together. And so I got to know you pretty well and glad to consider you one of my best friends. And the thing that, lots of people know of you and they know your work, but they don't necessarily get to meet you. And one of the things I hope that you, the listeners, will see once we're done is that the funny, warm, brilliant writer is also a funny, brilliant person. So I just set the bar pretty high there, Steve. Don't mess up.
Thanks, Lou. I always try and convince people that a couple of years ago I started telling people to know that I was actually, if they really knew me, they'd know I was like mean-spirited and petty and vindictive, and that it's all just it's a very effective front.
It's an act, yeah, that's true, and I'm just part of it.
You played along nicely.
But let's maybe go a little mean and dark and even a little snarky because we were trying to figure out what to talk about, and I just got a Fitbit for my birthday a week or two back. Happy birthday, me, by the way. Steve, how long have you had your Apple Watch?
It arrived last Monday afternoon at 4, and I had to leave for London the next morning at like 5:30 a.m. So I've had it for about a week.
Did it wake you up on time, or did it wake you up London time?
I've been testing it, and actually, I ran into trouble with my iPhone. The thing is that the iWatch, the iWatch. Let's see, now I owe somebody $5 for doing that. The Apple Watch is at this point, as somebody described it the other day, it's a sidecar to the iPhone.
I hear it's not just a sidecar. I hear it's more like a vampire that sucks the.
No, that's really not true. That's really not true. It's not a battery sucking. It's not a battery life sucking vampire. I have been not at all unhappy with the battery life, and but I was pre-warned that because it's doing most of what it does by talking to the phone, that it's the only apps that it's running on the watch itself are the native Apple apps. So if you're trying to talk to another app and get notifications and whatnot, they're actually being run on the phone. So when you open an app on the watch, it basically calls over to the phone and says, "Hey, could you run the that to-do list program?" And then it starts communicating back and forth. So that feels sluggish at times. At times it's not. At times it's fine. At times it feels sluggish. But they actually surprised everybody the other day by releasing they're announcing that they were going to release soon the actual SDK or tools to developers so they could write native watch apps, which should eliminate that problem.
That was kind of what happened with the iPhone originally, right?
It did, but it took them like a long time, didn't it? It took a year or a couple of years or something. Yeah. So this time, people didn't expect them to release it this quickly. So that's good. So the theory is that by the end of the year, we'll be using native versions of apps. But even so, I'm perfectly happy with it.
Well, what makes you happy? What besides the kind of shiny gleam of the thing?
You can't discount the shiny gleam of the thing. It's actually kind of nice. It's nice to look at, actually. Not as a watch per se, but just the screen. All the typography and whatnot in the watch parts of the screen. So I actually used to wear a watch all the time, and I gave up years ago. I'm not entirely sure why. And in fact, my wife gave me a lovely dress watch, and it's sat waiting for it to have its battery replaced for like 3 years now. But I don't like taking my phone out of my pocket to check the time. And so I'm very happy with just being able to turn my wrist towards me, and it wakes it up and displays the watch. So it's kind of nice that it's not, displaying it all the time and using battery, but it's a very nice, informative watch display. I'm looking at it right now, and it's got quite legibly time, date, actually local time. Since I was in London, I still have local time in Boston set down in the corner, and my next alarm, and more importantly, it has my next calendar appointment, which at this point is what we're doing right now, and it says what time it's going to be, and it has the name of it. So I actually find that all very useful, and I just really I like flipping my wrist to see the time. It's fun.
So little snackable bits of useful information that have been, sounds like, assembled in a pretty nice way to help you glide through the activities that make up your day.
Yeah, particularly the next appointment thing. I was surprised. I hadn't thought about that, but that's actually quite nice.
It's interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people are we've seen enough science fiction, and maybe we read Nathan Shedroff and Chris Nestle's book, Make It So, and so we think that the watch is going to be telling us things like telling you what to talk with me about. Maybe that's part of the problem, is that we have unfairly high expectations.
Yeah, that's the annoying orange watch, isn't it? That's like, yeah.
But it is pretty damn pretty. So last night I was at the Brooklyn User Experience Happy Hour meetup, and I saw Josh Seiden, and he had this really cool thing on his wrist, and it was just like sort of the default, I don't know, image, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So they're certainly making it shiny and pretty. I'm still wondering, besides all right, you don't have to fish around for your iPhone. It is sort of a nice sort of aid to moving or segueing from activity to activity. What can you see it doing beyond that?
Well, I mean, I like the idea of, well, there's a couple of ideas. Like one is reminders. I mean, I think it's going to be very useful to remind me that something's coming up. Whereas with the phone, if I set a reminder, then I have to take it out of my pocket to see what it's a reminder for. But here, I just flip my wrist and it tells me what it was I wanted to be reminded of. And also you know me. I've been a Dragon Naturally Speaking fan for like 20 years, and I've paid a fortune in upgrading versions of Dragon Naturally Speaking. And since the iPhone has a great microphone, I've been using the iPhone to dictate all my texts basically for a couple of years now, because the typing is much. I love the dictation's highly accurate for me, incredibly accurate for me, and. So I like the dictation. So I was looking forward to the idea of being able to dictate texts and replies to texts without taking my phone out, and that actually worked quite well. Siri manages to recognize my speech quite accurately, and so that's very convenient. I also, what I'm looking forward to is the ability to just flick my wrist and say, dictate something that I just thought of that I need to do, and have it automatically added to the program that I use for my David Allen Getting Things Done, to-do list manager. That program doesn't support it yet, but that's kind of my ideal. Is I'm thinking of something, and something occurs to me, rather than having to take out my phone, open up the to-do list app, dictate it, press another couple buttons to send it, and then put my phone away. Just being able to talk to the wrist is very appealing to me.
Well, it's interesting because, I think what you're getting at is that the device is going to kind of put pressure on designers and developers to rely less on text. Because, I'm finding I spend so much time staring at my iPhone, and I feel like my vision is going down the toilet, which may be a function of age. It also may be a function of using that device, and if there's something on my wrist that's designed in a way to just sort of do without text, to kind of force us to, as designers, to rely on dictation and audio playback of text rather than reading text, right. That might be a real savior, especially for those of us in the senior crowd.
Yeah, I've wanted, as a dictation fanatic, I've wanted dictation to catch on for quite a while, and there are a lot of reasons why it hasn't. But I think this stands a chance of being the breakthrough moment for text as input, for speech as input, because you're not going to have a keyboard on the watch. It's just not going to happen, and so you're reduced to either having it suggest a limited repertoire of replies to you, canned replies, like I'm running late, or okay, or whatever, or using dictation. And I think the dictation has gotten to the point where it's really powerful, and having it on the watch mitigates some of the looking like an idiot talking to your phone thing. If you just you look less like an idiot if you just put your hand up a little bit towards your mouth, and it's actually quite good at recognizing, even in noisy circumstances, I find. So I'm optimistic that it will work as breakthrough technology.
I'm just wondering, like, besides handling dictation and input, like, if there's going to be some better tools for output handling. In other words, some sort of audio playback that not just reads but scans for important content in email and reads those to me.
Yeah, I don't see why not. The bizarre thing is it's actually a phone. It never occurred to me that it is actually your Dick Tracy wrist radio.
If you have an iPhone with you.
If you have an iPhone with you, yeah. Although supposedly the next generation, next spring, when I'm prepared to experience buyer's remorse, will include its own sort of Wi-Fi ability to connect phone calls through if you're near Wi-Fi and don't have your phone.
So why am I hating on the Fitbit so much?
I was going to ask. You should talk about it, and I will introduce my wife, Melanie, who's a Fitbit fanatic.
Well, Melanie, so I got this Fitbit. Like you, I'm a runner, and my wife and my brother, pretty close to me, thought that would be a great present for Lou's birthday, and it was very thoughtful. And I got this thing, and I took it out, and I haven't worn a watch in, I don't know, 20 years or something like that. But I immediately put it on, and kept it on until the battery ran out 2 or 3 days later, whatever it was. And I saw very quickly that there's an app, and I downloaded that, and there's a dashboard on the website. I figured that much out, and I know that you could press the button and have a few things display. All right, I now know what my resting heart rate is. I guess that's nice. I was already tracking my runs using a phone, which I keep with me all the time. I think I use Runkeeper. There's so many apps to do that, and they also double as pedometers. And then there's all this sleep-related stuff that I'm not sure if I'm supposed to tell the Fitbit when I'm asleep and when I'm not. And I think maybe my biggest problem here is not only the fact that it's not solving an obvious problem for me, but it's not really explaining itself to me at the very outset. I still don't really know what it does or how to get it to deliver value, and I feel like there's almost a broader service design or even just a packaging issue here that the Fitbit as a company is sort of falling down on the job with and maybe not doing its own device justice.
I still have not figured out, 4 months, 6 months later, have not figured out the sleep. Sometimes it tells me how long I've slept, and sometimes it tells me I should tell it something. And I don't know what the difference is.
Right.
So it's unclear.
But sometimes it does tell you?
Sometimes it tells me.
Because I thought it was in the category of where most of them were, which is they require you to make several button presses to tell it that you're now drowsy, you're now officially drowsy, and you're about to go to sleep.
It's quite accurate when it does it, when it decides to tell me.
But some nights it doesn't.
But some nights it doesn't.
Huh.
So let's say it tells me about my sleep. So what? I mean,
Right.
am I going to sleep differently? Can it help me?
Actually, it can tell you if you're stirring through the night, if you're waking through the night. It tells you how many times you've awakened. And if that's an issue, like if you see that it's 47 times during the night, you might want to see somebody about that. You might have sleep apnea. But for me, I really just want to know my steps.
Right.
How many steps I've gone for the day.
I think the sleep thing is a sort of initial diagnostic where you're not going to use it long term, but if you use it for a couple of weeks, you supposedly may be able to notice that if you have a cup of coffee after 5, that you don't sleep as soundly or whatever,
If you remember that.
Well, yeah, exactly.
If you're looking at it.
If you're looking at it and the app is sort of set up to do that kind of analysis for you, and that'll happen more, in the future. So we have to bear in mind that this for you was a gift. Now Melanie's experience was different. She read about it, went looking for it, and you really like it.
I love it. And the reason is because I'm not young like you are, and I can't run every day anymore. The days I don't run, I want to know that I've at least walked a certain amount of steps or miles. Mm-hmm. And this tells me. And if I haven't, then I walk to the post office, or I put my backpack on and I walk to the grocery store, and it has made a tremendous difference in my lifestyle.
Or at 11 o'clock at night, you walk around the house.
No, at 11:56 at night, I start walking around the house.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's great, and it's a game.
I'm sure it is, and you're right that this was a gift, so I didn't have the same sort of motivation, nor did I study up on it in the same way that you did before you got it. But I think what is bothering me here is not so much the Fitbit as a piece of technology, but the fact that it's not having a conversation with me. And maybe, again, my expectations are unfair. But when I open the box, I want the thing to say, hey, Lou, let's talk about what you need and how I can help. And it feels like there was no aspect of that sort of initial experience where Fitbit said, this is what I'm capable of. Let's see if this is a good thing for you.
Welcome to the world of onboarding, which is a sad world. People are not doing a very good job of that.
But, in a way, like the things that Fitbit does are fairly simple. This is not a platform like an iPhone or like Apple Watch, I guess, will be when the developers get their hands on the core code.
Right.
It's really only something that does a couple things, and I'm sure it does them well. But I feel like they don't even really make clear what those things are and how to do those things, like how to do sleep. Like Melanie, you still aren't quite sure how that works, and how long have you been using it?
Don't know.
Right.
Don't know.
I think we always have those black holes with all our devices. There are things that I've used for 15 years, that there are things about them that I still don't quite know how they work, and it probably would behoove me to know how those things work, but it's never reached the critical point where I would bother to learn it. It's too hard to learn.
That's because you got something essential, like your copier can fax things if you wanted to and scan things if you wanted to, but.
Right.
If the main thing is copying, and you can do that, you'll be happy to have that device around and you won't send it back. To be honest, I think I figured out that I shouldn't send the Fitbit back. But I think the critical use of a Fitbit should be to attach it to your cat. I mean, those suckers are up all night. I find my kids' toys strewn across the hall. They go into the toy box, they pull out their favorite toys, and run around and play all night, and God knows what else. I mean, like, if I want to sleep better, I mean, maybe it's not a Fitbit I should be attaching to the cat, but cement shoes or something. I think that's it.
I think a Fitbit is just a very simple tool. It's for people like me who are not tech savvy, and who want to know how much they've moved, and that's all it does. Right. It is very nice and tells me the time at the same time.
Right, and you already had that function served by your phone. You were carrying your phone with you when you ran.
Right.
So you didn't really have an aching need for that essential function.
Although I think it's funny, Melanie, you say it's for someone like you who's not tech savvy, and maybe it's not for the people who are not tech savvy. It says that I'm really just not savvy. Period.
You probably overthink it. That's probably what goes on.
Oh, that's probably true too. Well, we should wrap it up. I wish we could go longer. And thank you both. It was really great to have both of you on the show.
All right, thanks, Lou.
Thanks, Lou. Bye.
Thanks to you both. Take care.